Hello, I wanted to give you about a 5-minute video around an update that we've gotten from the New York State and the governor's office in regards to yellow, orange, and red cluster zones and how those zones affect school districts. We've had some information come our way in the past, but most recently the governor has put together a winter plan. This can be found on the governor's website. It'll give some information. I'll also be sending out an email with this information in writing with some links if you wanted to do some more research around it. But first I want to tell you thank you for the successful fall we've had at this point. We're continuing to dodge the bullet of any positive cases within the school district and any infection being passed through the school district through many of your efforts that have taken place. But in regards to yellow, orange, and red zones, the winter plan has defined what those zones are. They're really based upon the positivity rate within an area. And if a school building falls within one of those zones, we're required to do student and staff testing in order to remain open. This is actually fairly new. Originally, yellow zones, we were allowed to stay open, but now also in red and orange zones because the governor is finding that transmission of COVID-19 hasn't been happening in school districts with the protocols that take place. So let me do a quick definition of what we're talking about here. So in terms of what the yellow zone, what school districts need to do in order to keep students in school during the yellow zone is that we're required to test 20% of our students, faculty, and staff over the course of a 2-week period immediately following the announcement of a yellow zone designation. Okay, so that's a yellow zone. Orange zone, we're required to test 20% of in-person students, but it will be over a course of a month. And in a red zone, it's 30% of students, faculty, and staff over a course of a month. Okay, so the time frame is really telling us that at the end of those time frames, so for a yellow zone, after 2 weeks, after we've tested 20% of those students, we take a look at the positivity rate. And as long as that positivity rate is lower than the zone we are currently in, we no longer have to continue to test. If we are at or higher, we would continue to need to test our students. Now, testing students is not something that we're very excited about. It's not something we wanted to do. And I believe in the summer, I said we will not be testing students. Well, now that the game has changed a little bit, we've been working with the county public health and the county managers and the hospital to determine the best process to do testing so that we can remain open, which we know is best for our students. So let me describe how that testing would take place. So essentially, we have around 1,000 people on our campus. That includes everyone, so that's student, faculty, staff. And so 20% of 1,000 people would be 200 people. And if you take a 2-week period, which is essentially 10 days of school, you divide that by 10, that means we're going to be testing about 20 students a day. We need to complete these tests and submit the data to public health by 3 o'clock each day. So it'd be 20 students a day over a 2-week period. It would be different students each of those days. Those students would be randomly selected, but we would only select students where we received permission from parents. Same thing for staff. Staff need to give us permission to test them also. Okay, so that is the general idea of testing. So how will the testing take place? We're going to do it right here in school. Our nursing staff, as well as the Carthage Clinic, have been trained on what the test is. This test, I want to be clear, is not the nasal test that goes deep into the back of your throat. In other words, you might hear people say it tickles your brain. That's not the test that we're talking about. The test that we will be using is a very simple test that it is a nasal swab, but it's just the front end of the nose rather than going deep in. So it's really basically taking any samples from the most outer region part of your nose. So that is a 15-minute rapid test. So we'll be testing 20 individuals, and that we will know very quickly if there's positive or negative results. Once we get those results, we put those into a spreadsheet and we send them into public health by 3 o'clock that day. Okay, so we fall under the public health license for that. How do we choose the 20%? So what we'll do is we're going to send out an email that has this information, as well as an electronic permission slip that can be completed, signed by a parent, and sent in, basically submitted. Out of all of that and the staff that we have here, we need to have at least 20% of our entire group of people that will be here. We'll take the folks that have given us permission. We'll basically put the names into a spreadsheet and randomly sort the list. And we will choose 20 people each day out of that random list. So they basically take the first 20 the first day and the next 20 the next day. Okay, so how many times will the folks be tested? It's only going to be once over a 10-day period. Okay, so that's generally what that looks like for testing. So when would this start? The testing would only start when we were classified in one of those colored zones. So for instance, if over the weekend we get information that the governor or the state has decided that we are in a yellow zone, so that would mean that we would need 2 weeks from that designation. So starting Monday, we could begin testing. But we haven't done the permission slips yet. So probably what that would mean is, since we don't have permission slips, we won't be able to do the testing. We would delay and go remote for a couple of days while we get the paperwork in to get the permission to do the testing. Once we have enough and we're able to do some random sorting, we will open school back up and start the testing. Again, it's only when we reach a colored zone. So what do you need to do right now? Well, you're going to be receiving an email from me or a post through Parent Square. That post will also have a form in it. The post will have much of the information that was in this video, maybe with some more specifics, with a link to connect to some more information from the New York State website. But there will also be an electronic form that you can select for each of your students. You'll select your student's name, you'll go down and check the boxes that you agree to that information, and then you electronically sign on your name and basically put your name at the bottom and then click submit. That information will come to us, and then we'll have the database that has those that have given permission for the testing. If you do nothing, we won't have permission for your student, and then we wouldn't be testing. And just a note, in some cases, we have our system should be selecting the parent and guardian who has the rights to give that. We have some families where one parent might and one parent might not. It should go to the parent to be able to give that information. But please communicate within your family to make sure that we do receive appropriate permission, and we will be reviewing that to make sure that that is clear. We would not want to test anyone, any student, when a parent doesn't want that to take place. So I want to thank Public Health, the county, and the hospital to work with us on developing a process where we believe the test is a very simple test. It's a non-threatening test, and a process that will be able to keep our schools open for a longer period of time. This actually looks very positive to us. If we can do this testing, we will continue to keep our hybrid schedule going. So if you have any questions, don't be afraid to contact us at school. Read the email as it comes. If you want to do the permission form, go ahead and do that. We are looking to have that completed by the end of the day on December 10th. So I want to thank you and have a great weekend.